How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here, and the video game gods blessed us with 35 fantastic games by Konami for the NES. However, not all of them were winners, but a lot of them were really good. This video ranking all 35 Konami games for the NES, and if you would like to rank them yourself, I have a link in the description below to the tier maker I'm using. I'll point out up front, I'm only doing the US release games, so I'm not doing any of the Famicom titles, and these are also Konami specific. So you're not going to see anything from Ultra like Skate or Die or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you also won't see anything from like Hudson Soft, for instance. The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Bayou Billy would be a great game if the enemies were stunned when you hit them, like they do in every other fighting game. However, in this one, they just kind of flash for a little bit, so they can't take any more damage, but while they're doing that, they can certainly hurt you, and they do every time. It's actually almost not fair. It is kind of cool because it takes place in the bayou, has an awesome soundtrack. There's multiple modes, like there's going to be like a driving mode. There's also like a zapper mode if you want to use your light gun. You don't have to use the light gun if you don't want. You can also just use your controller. But still, if it wasn't for the fact that when the enemy hits you and then you can't hit him back immediately, like they don't get stunned or anything like that, it would be much higher on the list. It would probably be an A tier. But because it's not, I'm going to put it as, it's not a D tier. I'll put it as a C tier, though. You got Batman Begins, a great beat 'em up from, well, I mean, the first one was from Sunsoft, right? And I think the other one was Sunsoft also. And then you have this one from Konami, which is fantastic. And I've mostly played it on the Super Nintendo, but the one on the NES is fine for the limitations with the NES. Glad it came out for the NES. Still, I'm going to give it a C. Well, we got that NASCAR game from Bill Elliott, which, if you haven't played it before, like if you've seen it, you're just like, NASCAR, it's not for me or whatever. It may have the best speech in any NES game of every NES game ever made. Listen to this.
Drivers, start your engine.
Dude, that's really good. That's like super clean. And Capcom has a bunch of voices in their games, and you're gonna hear some of them in this video. Still though, I'm not a big racing fan. I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but it plays like a decent racing game, so I'll put it as a D. No, I'm just kidding. I'll put it as an F. I never play it. It doesn't mean it's a terrible game. It just means to me, I'm not gonna play it.
Blades of Steel.
Yeah, there's your Blades of Steel. Great hockey game if you like hockey, and I've never been a fan of hockey, admittedly. The cool thing with Konami, though, is they'll take their sports games and make them at least decently fun. So if you're not the biggest sports fan, it's still worth checking out some of these games. And Blades of Steel is one of them. Still, I'm not a big sports fan, so to me, I'll put Blades of Steel as a C. Bucky O'Hare is super cool. Great platformer, kind of a run and gun style. You start out as Bucky O'Hare, but then when you beat the levels, you can choose which level you want to go to. You can unlock other players that you can play as, and you'll need to unlock some of the other players first to access other parts of different levels, which I thought was a great idea. And remember the days you could grab deals on NES games? I grabbed this for $5 in the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there, from an EB Games in Seattle. Man, I miss those days. I'm putting Bucky O'Hare as an A. Had 3 Castlevania games for the NES. The first Castlevania was true to the arcade, unlike a lot of the Capcom games that came out for the NES. But of course, the arcade one was just the NES, like the Versus Castlevania. That's what I played in the arcade, and I was like, oh my god, here it is on the NES, and it plays exactly the same. And I like it a lot, and I'm going to put it as... I got me second thinking now, because although it's a classic, sometimes the jumping is a little awkward, like you can't backtrack on your jumps. If you get hit, you'll fall into a pit every time. The difficulty is up there, but it is beatable. No, it's an A. I'll put Castlevania as an A. Simon's Quest, believe it or not, I enjoy Simon's Quest more than Castlevania by a pretty substantial amount. I just love that exploration style. I just love that kind of open world, Metroidvania. Obviously, I mean, oddly it's called Vania because it's Castlevania. That's where it came from. Even though the clues were kind of weird. Thank you for, player guides and Nintendo Powers and stuff to help me beat it the first time I did back in the day. I'm putting Simon's Quest also as an A. Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse is an S. That is an absolute masterpiece of a game. I absolutely love it. I've never beaten it with anyone else other than Sofa. It has just enough amount of options. So it's like, do you want to go, route A, route B? And sometimes you'll find other characters you can pick up along the way. You can play as them later on. It's just wonderful, and I absolutely love it. And killer soundtrack, man. Love the soundtrack. Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse is an S for sure for me. Well, we got the Contra games. And Contra games are interesting because I've never admittedly been a huge fan of the Contra games. Yeah, I've played them. Yeah, I have them. But you can't deny how popular it is. And then the 3 on the NES. And with the 3 Contra games on the NES, I'm going to put all 3 of them in a different spot. Now, to me, the first Contra, it's good. But I mean, I think most people see it through, nostalgia glasses. And I don't know, I'm going to put it as a B, just because. Super C, I enjoyed even more, and I'll put Super C as an A. I don't know what it just feels different, and I just like it more, so I can't explain why. Maybe because I don't die as much. I need to get better at it. And then we have Contra Force, which isn't a bad game. It really isn't. It's just not Contra. And yes, I understand it says Contra Force on the cover. It literally has the Contra logo. It's not Contra. It came out as something completely different in Japan. When it came out in America, they're like, oh, we'll just put Contra's name on it and we'll call it good. Again, it's a lot more collectible than the other Contra games. And it's not a terrible game. It really isn't. But I'm still going to put it as a C, because that's about how good it is. It's not Contra, it's just different.
Double dribble.
Yeah, Double Dribble. People still love this game today, and I, for the love of me, don't know why. I mean, it's not for me. I'm not a sports fan. I'm not a huge basketball fan. You can only play as like 4 teams, and Seattle's not one of them. So I never played it, and I see the draw. It's a basketball game, and it's easy to pick up and play. Again, that's what Konami gives you in sports games, is games that you can just pick up and play, and learn how to play sports by playing these games. I know how to play, I know the rules of basketball and hockey and football and all that, because I played video games growing up, not because I played them. And I'm sure people will have Double Dribble as an S on their tiers, but I'm putting it as a D, only because it's not for me. Goonies 2 is an awkward game for me because I love it, but I can see why others don't, right? It's not based on the sequel to the movie, it's based on the sequel to the game that we never got here in America. It came out on the Famicom, and I grew up playing Goonies in the arcade, because they had like a versus Goonies cabinet. Actually had Castlevania on one side, Goonies on the other. I'd play them both. And again, it's that exploration style, which I absolutely love. A lot like a Castlevania 2. I beat it back in the day. I don't know if I can do it now, because especially when you go through the doors and you don't know which direction you're facing, and you have to hit the hammer on the wall or punch every wall and stuff like that to find secret places. It's interesting, but I still love this game, and I've been telling myself I'm going to go through it again for probably the last 15 years straight. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll do it soon. I'm putting Goonies 2 as a B. Gradius is a game I think I like, and then every time I play it, I'm reminded of why I don't, which is a terrible thing for me to say, because I love this game. Only do I really? There's so many other great shooters out there, and I know it's one of the, it paved the way for all these other great shooters to come out along the way that play like this, but aren't exactly this. And I like Gradius 3 a lot. I like Gradius 4 too, as well. But the first one is just tough, and I don't know. I'll put it as a C. Jack Nicklaus whatever golf. Now, this golf game, Jack Nicklaus Golf, is interesting because it looks like it belongs on MS-DOS, but it's on the NES. It's on the Nintendo Entertainment System, where the areas are kind of like it's that drawing, whatever that drawing is called, with like point-and-click adventures, they always look like this. And it plays like kind of a typical golf game, but it's still not very good, even for golf games. And I kind of like golf games sometimes. This one's not. It's an F. Jackal is awesome. Huge fan of Jackal, because you can run over people. That's the best thing in the world, right? Only a few games on the NES allow you to run over people, and Jackal was one of them. But along with that too, you can save your people, get your upgrades. I'm a huge fan of Jackal, and I'm putting it as an A. Oh, we were just talking about point-and-click adventures. We have King's Quest. King's Quest 5. Never thought I'd ever see the Sierra logo on an NES game, and here we are. King's Quest 5 is the only King's Quest game I ever played because I was never a PC gamer. I never had a computer growing up. Our first family computer, outside of the Atom computer that we only got because it had the ColecoVision adapter, we got it like in 1996 or something like that. So it could barely play Duke Nukem 3D. But it was, I need a controller in my hand. That's why I've never been a PC gamer. Although I understand PC games now, you can play with controllers. But still, I thought it played very well for a point-and-click game. And I like this game quite a bit, and I've beaten it a few times in the past. Wouldn't mind doing it again. I'm putting King's Quest 5 as, I'll put it as a B. Laser Invasion isn't bad. I think a lot of people skipped Laser Invasion because people remember that giant helmet where you say, fire, 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 fire. Of course, they don't have the helmet, which was optimized for this game, but you don't need that helmet to play this game. It plays like a good version of Top Gun, really. It's just like an Afterburner Top Gun style game, but you can play with the controller just fine. It plays just fine. And it's okay. It's a C for me. Life Force, which I like more than Gradius, and I just like it more, and I'll put it as a B. Back when I was collecting NES games, the Lone Ranger was one that eluded me for a while. I couldn't find it for a while. Found it after, a while, finally. And Lone Ranger is one of those games that a lot of people have skipped. It was kind of a later release game, but it plays great. It has an overworld part, and then, there's other missions later on. I'm not going to talk, too much about it. But Lone Ranger plays like a very, very, very good Konami game, and I'm going to put it as a B. Monster in My Pocket. What a fun game this is. I covered this recently on some underrated NES games. 1 or 2 player, large sprites. It takes place in in the house, so like everything's like super big and everything because Monster in My Pocket was based on the toy from back in the day, where it's like these little toys that you keep in your pocket, I guess. Don't know how the schools appreciated that, bringing toys to class. It's a fun game though, and it plays just like a great game. And big fan of Monster in My Pocket. Make sure you check it out if you can. I'll give it a B. Russian Attack, where up is jump. No, don't have up as jump. No. B button attacks, A button is jump. Have that be for every game, and you're good. This one doesn't. However, I'm gonna give it to Russian Attack. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel that awkward. Russian Attack, home of the one-hit kills, and and just shanking people left and right. You pick up the bazooka, which is always cool. And I love, I love a good pun. I love plays on words. I love wordplay. And rush and attack, like Russian Attack. It's rush and attack and Russian Attack. It's brilliant. Brilliant pun. Still, the game's a classic, but I'm putting it as a C. Stinger was fun because Stinger was another shooter, but it had that little bit of a twist to it that, like Gradius, like Life Force, take place in outer space or in someone's body or something like that. 1941, all the other games, like World War II style shooters. And then here comes Stinger, which at the time was fun and cute, and the enemies were creative, and it goes from the side-scrolling like vertical to horizontal shooter, and had a lot going on for itself. It was twin. I'm literally wearing the shirt right now. I want to say it was the second Twin Bee game for the NES. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. It's decent, and I'll put, it's decent, but it was still missing something, and I'll put Stinger as a C. It deserves more than a C, but I'm still gonna put it as a C. Now again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Tmnt 2, the arcade game, those are both from Ultra. I understand Ultra is Konami, but because maybe Ultra will be its own list later on. I'm just doing specific Konami games. However, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, was Konami. And it is a wonderful beat 'em up. It may even be better than the arcade game, but of course the arcade game was one that got the most, that was the nostalgic one, right? But it's still really good. I'll put Tmnt 3 as a B. And then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. Now this game came out for the Super Nintendo. This is pretty cool. Came out for the Sega Genesis. Pretty cool. It came out for the NES, which was nice as a thank you. Maybe people haven't got the Super Nintendo or Genesis yet, and they're still playing their NES. I rented it back in the day, and I had a copy. I ended up trading off, and it's not great. Like NES games are not really equipped for great fighting games, unless it's Urban Champion, of course. It's a D to me. Good lord, I feel almost bad putting it there, but to me it's a D. Tiny Toon Adventures, what a great animated series that was back in the day, in the early to mid 90s. Mario 3 is the best platformer on the NES, right? But Tiny Toon Adventures is way up there for the quality of how good it is. What it's missing that Mario 3 didn't have is this one, the controls are a little loose. Like you move a little bit too fast, like you jump a little bit too far or too floaty. That aside, I think the play control is great. I think the levels are fun. The level design is decent, especially for an NES game. I like the fact that you can choose which one of 3 companions you want to bring with you that have their own, differences. Like one of them can kind of float, one of them can kind of, grab onto walls and climb up that way, to prevent themselves from falling down pitfalls and stuff like that. I think Tiny Toon Adventures has a lot going on for itself, and I'm going to put it as an A tier. It's a solid A. Tiny Toon Adventures 2 takes place in a theme park, and it's not bad. I just wish there was more, level play. And one of them's like on a roller coaster, and I hate roller coaster levels on any game. One of them takes place in bumper cars, which is kind of cool. It changes up the gameplay a little bit. Like the first one more. This one's okay. It's not quite a B though. I'll put it as a C. Tiny Toon Adventures Cartoon Workshop. You gotta understand, this is not a game. This is an experience. This is a, it's movie editing. Maybe I learned how to make videos on YouTube. It all stemmed from making videos on a Tiny Toon Adventures Cartoon Workshop. I wonder if there are YouTube animators today that got their start on the Cartoon Workshop. Probably not. You literally make a Tiny Toon cartoon. You choose the characters, you choose their animation, what they want, like their quote, what they want to say, from a select list of quotes. You can't add your own text, unfortunately. My friends and I played this a ton back in the day, just creating these cartoons that would used to be silly. Just like flying an airplane and it crashes into a building and then it says "Happy Birthday." I mean, it's there's a lot you can do with this game. Nostalgia for this game is very high for me. It's not quite a game, but it is an experience. I'll put it as a B. Top Gun is that game that everybody had in their collection, and you pick up a lot of games right now, like on eBay, a yard sale or something like that, they always have Top Gun. Nobody ever bought this game brand new. Where did it come from? The Top Gun fairies blessed us all with this wonderful game, and it's not terrible. It's no Afterburner, but this was kind of their answer to Afterburner. I had no problem landing the plane. People seem to. Not that I did it every time. Of course not. To me, it was doing the refill of the gas, like the refill of the fuel line in those later levels. That was the hard part for me. Top Gun, I don't know. I want to put. Is it a D? I'm putting Top Gun as a D, only because it's like it wouldn't be so bad, but it's the same. Every level is the same level. I never played it I never beat it, so I don't know how many levels it goes. I don't know. It's a D. Top Gun Second Mission, though, was like it but better. You could do barrel rolls. You could do loop-de-loops either way. Two-player dogfighting. Top Gun Second Mission is actually really good, but still not super good. I'm gonna put it as a C. I had a lot of fun with track and field in the arcade. I never did the pencil trick. I just used my hands to do the buttons and all that, and I had enough fun playing that game fine. And when it came out for the NES, perfect. I had no qualms with it. It's fun. It's a decent game, and I'll put Track and Field, the first one, as a C. And then when Track and Field 2 came out, I was all about it. I loved Track and Field 2. Had much more events you could play. The crowd whistling sound got pretty annoying after a while, but there was more gameplay in this. Like they actually had like judo as one of the things. They had fencing. There's a lot going on with Track and Field 2. I had a lot of fun playing this, and I'll put Track and Field 2 as a B tier. I remember I was at a Walden Books in my old mall back in the day. They had like the passwords for Track and Field 2 in the back there, back when they had like the codes in the back of the magazines. And it'd be like, oh, hey, if you want to start, the final day of the Olympics, Track and Field 2 as USA, the password is 54HLPHJNI. And I was like, I can remember that. And I still remember it today. Well, we never had Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, but we had Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, and it was cool to see. Now, this game came in a giant box because it came with the almanac. I swear these games were designed to help you learn how to use an almanac. You learn a little bit of history along the way, you learn a little bit of, geography along the way, stuff like that. Fun game, if you're into this style of edutainment game. But I liked it. I tried playing this game without the almanac, just trying to figure out how much I actually know about anything, and sometimes it'll be like the same place but then two different dates, and it's like, I don't know. It could have been better, but it was perfect for the NES at the time. It's still a D though. I know I talk about how awesome it is, it's a D. Well, yeah. Zen Intergalactic Ninja was another one of those games that just eluded me. I couldn't find one. Our rental store didn't have it for rent. Most of the games I played growing up came from, we had several rental stores within walking distance, and I knew which games all of them had. None of them had Zen Intergalactic Ninja, so it was a game I didn't get to play until much later in life. And then when I did, it's an awesome game. It has that perspective of when you jump, you actually kind of like jump towards the camera a little bit. Weird angle on it to go through, but it was something unique for its time, and it's a brawler. It's kind of like a beat 'em up, but instead of like going horizontal, you go at this weird kind of angle. I wish I would have played this more when I was growing up. I wish I would have seen this when I was growing up, and I just didn't. But it's still a good game, and I'll put it as a B. I'm looking at the list, and I only have one S tier and two F tiers. I would have thought I would have had more S tiers with Konami, but I mean, I don't want to change the list now. What I said is what I said. I said what I said. And what did you say? Make sure you tag me in social media if you create one of these lists for yourself. Link in the description below. I've also ranked Black Box NES games. I've ranked LJN games and more, so make sure you check out those videos. I do at least 2 videos a week. Make sure you're subscribed and consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Everything is linked in the description below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being you.